All right, everybody, we are live. We have our 3Ps tonight talking about polling, politics, and policies. And I've been chatting all week long and telling everybody about this amazing, amazing man, investigator, Manuel Gomez. I'm so excited to have you on tonight. And as always, all the time, our Alicia Keaton from Phoenix Partners NC. Very excited about her as well joining us. But our guest is going to help us out and enlighten us about a lot of great things that he's been doing. And I'm going to give him all the time to talk and to share because he's got a lot to say, and I need to hear him say it tonight. And Investigator Manuel Gomez, tell us who you are and what you do.
Well, first of all, I want to say, Alicia and Toshiba, thank you very much for having me on. And thank everyone on this beautiful night to spend this time with us. So I want to thank you all first. What I am is a private investigator. I usually hunt down murderers, serial killers, and I prove people innocent. I'm the most feared investigator on the East Coast because I have proven over 120 people innocent who were wrongfully arrested. The majority of the people I've proven innocent, about 70% of them were African American. And my cases range from New York to California to Virginia to Tennessee. And I travel all around and I get called everywhere. But the one thing that I do mostly, besides prove people innocent, is I've also taken on the aspect of writing legislation to bring justice to people and to bring about oversight and transparency to our current judicial system. You know, in this time that we're in, people talk about the police being corrupt. Defund the police, defund the police. You know, the police are corrupt. Well, there's a lot of police corruption, and I can't disagree with that. But the people forget the most corrupt individuals are not the cops. The most corrupt individuals are the prosecutors.
Wow.
You got the prosecutor that the cop falsely arrests you, and then the prosecutor turns around and keeps you in jail for 3 years, knowing you're innocent, and keeps you waiting for a trial 3 and 4 years, knowing that they don't really have a case on you. Now you tell me who's more corrupt.
That's a deep statement you just made. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your background and what you did. I've been sharing with everyone about how you were really featured in this Hulu original called Crime and Punishment, and how it showed you doing your job, doing just that. And I saw a young man that was able to go free at the end of the movie, the documentary, how you went out there and did the work of the police department and the prosecutors. And I watched this prosecutor tell us at the end and tell the judge, and I saw your face expression in the background, like, no, you guys didn't do the investigation. I did, so I can read your thoughts with that. Tell us a little bit about what it was like being on the NYPD and the work you did around that Hulu special.
Well, I'm a former police officer of the New York Police Department. I was there for 15 years. Also a United States Army counterintelligence officer out of Fort Bragg from the 18th Airborne. Recently retired about 2 years ago. At 24 years of hunting down terrorists and criminals around the world. When I was a cop, my career ended in the first 15 minutes. It started in 15 minutes, it ended in 15 minutes. What happened was when I first graduated the academy, the first day I was sent to the 43rd Police Precinct. And I'll never forget it. I felt like Captain America on top of the world. I'm gonna bring justice. And when I was standing in formation and roll call, waiting for them to give these brand new cops all our first time assignments, because we just graduated yesterday. This sergeant comes over and picks 8 of us and says, get in the van. And we all get in the van, 8 of us. When we went in the van was so quiet. And so while we were going to this area that he was taking us to go find an arrest, he stopped off at a place called Yankee Pizzeria. Now, there was 3 black males standing there holding a pizza and sodas, 2 Hispanic kids holding ices, 1 holding a calzone. I'll never forget it. And he pulls the police van right up in front. He goes, "Get out the car, throw all them up against the wall."
Oh, no.
So I said, "Wait a minute. I just graduated yesterday. I'm supposed to have probable cause. What's the probable cause of I'm throwing these people up? They're holding an illegal pizza? I mean, what's the probable cause?" The sergeant looked at me and the rest of us and said, "I gave you all an order. Get out the van, throw them up against the wall, or you're all going to get suspended and fired." I told him that this is an illegal order and I will not follow it. And then guess what happened? They took us back to the precinct. He was cursing at us like you would not believe. And they put me and broke us all up, and they put us all in different locations. So for that first 15 minutes, I realized that the job wasn't the job. For you to get along in the job, you have to go along. So that means if you see me throwing up Alicia against the wall because she's walking while being black, or walking while being Hispanic, or just walking in a poor neighborhood, you have to keep your mouth shut or you're gonna lose your job.
So what you're telling me is what you experienced those years ago is the same behaviors that we just saw when the world saw George Floyd die.
Absolutely.
We saw him murdered by police officers and other officers standing around and holding everybody back. And so with that said, there were 12 other officers that stood up with you.
Yes.
How do other police officers who are experiencing that right now, how do they stand up like you and those other 12 officers did against NYPD?
Well, let me say one thing before I answer that question. The New York City Police Department is the largest police force in the world, the largest police force. Okay, we have 36,000 cops. No state, no country has that one localized area like we do. Now, here's the thing. North Carolina, their police departments follow and copy the New York police procedures. 38 states follow and copy the New York City police procedures. This is why you're seeing the same problem in ticket quotas, people being falsely arrested, stopped in the street, their tactics, the way they're grabbing people. This thing with the chokehold with Eric Gardner and Floyd and all this other stuff, this has been illegal for more than 20 years.
Wow.
And it has been, but the problem is it's just coming out now again. And the problem is it stems from New York. We are the epicenter of the corruption that has been now adopted as normal policies throughout the United States. And this is something that I learned as a police officer. And, you know, when I became a private investigator, I realized that the justice I could not give as a police officer, now I give as a private investigator.
So you're telling me that North Carolina, along with, you said 37 other states,
38.
Follow these same behaviors, follow these same procedures and processes. Now, tell us about what you did with the bill to counteract that. I heard you say something in the documentary that when everything was over, and you said, this can only change unless we change legislation. It has to be a separate body for checks and balances. And so you recognize that. And when you recognize that, you did something amazing. Tell us what you did for New York City. What did you propose?
Well, what I did was I wrote a piece of legislation called the Department of Civilian Justice. It's a bill, okay? And a bill proposal. It started off as a bill proposal. Now it's an official state bill. And what I did was I drew up the infrastructure for a new agency where every poor Black mother, rich mother, white mother, Spanish mother, Italian mother could go to report corruption without fear of retaliation, where cops can go report corruption without fear of retaliation. And then what I did was I wrote it in a way where that it will have independent investigators who are not affiliated with the police department or the prosecutor's office or the Department of Corrections, so that people are ensured to get a fair and impartial investigation. And we'll also have the ability to have judges which will be able to fire the police commissioner, fire the police officer, fire the person who's washing the floors, fire the corrupt prosecutor who holds back evidence, fire the judge who's turning around and realizes that Black lives don't matter, even though he's Black. I've had judges who are Black judges in Virginia, Connecticut, New York, North Carolina, California, all around, who are destroying Black lives and being corrupt and have had their rulings overturned by the appellate courts, but nothing happens to them. And I'll give you a perfect example. That movie, Now You See Us, about the Central Park jogger that a lot of people saw. That movie, you see everything that happened to them. You saw all the kids that they took 20 years away from them. And at the end of the movie, they got paid $40 million. $40 million, what they should have gotten, but they got paid $40 million. At the end of the movie, it shows that the prosecutor falsified the case. It showed that the detective falsified the case. What happened to them? Nothing. She's getting his pension. She's still writing books. And this is what I'm talking about. How can these people check themselves, monitor themselves, punish themselves, and judge themselves? That's not a proper system check of balances.
It's kind of like, I'm sorry, it's kind of like what we just saw today about the verdict for Breonna Taylor, right?
Yes.
With $12 million that she received, and I saw numerous comments and things of that nature, talking about how that justice is still not being served on here, and so I'm trying to figure out the best way it looks like that we need to go about this is what you propose for New York City. And North Carolina is one of these states of the 37 states that follow these same procedures of New York. And so what myself and other activists are doing, like people like Dr. Terrence Ruth, and I've reached out to our local NAACP individuals. I've reached out to other grassroots individuals, amazing Justice Serve leader, Diane Powell, other people like Aaron Dale, who are coming on the show after you in the next coming weeks. And I've had everyone look at this bill and how we want to pull this grassroots movement around this civilian justice bill. Talk about why this bill really is important. Go a little bit more in depth about what you were saying concerning what prosecutions look like, why we need a separate department from it all.
Well, I want to say one thing, Dr. Terrence Ruth of North Carolina and NAACP, he called me down. The minute George Floyd got killed, he calls me up and he says, Manuel, you have the bill. You have the bill that will give us what we're asking for, the oversight, the ability to judge cops and have them get prosecuted and arrested and fired. Okay, and the prosecutors and the Department of Corrections. He says, I want you to come down here and I would like you to see if you can take your New York bill and draft it towards North Carolina. So I sat up all night that night, drafting the North Carolina Department of Civilian Justice bill proposal. And it took me about 9 hours, but I did it. And the bill now that's gonna come for North Carolina is the most comprehensive department that will provide the most largest mechanism of justice, transparency, and judicial reform that the state has ever seen. And I told, Dr. Ruth says to me, well, where do you want to put this? Where do you think we should? And I said, only one place. There's only one place in North Carolina this needs to go. He goes, where? I said, the slave market in Fayetteville. That building, which they call the slave market, which is a sore on the eye of humanity. It should not be called the Hall of Justice. it should now be the home of the Department of Civilian Justice. So we take that negative stigma for the North Carolina and transform it into a beacon of light and an example of hope for the whole state. That's where the Department of Civilian Justice needs to be housed, there. I don't want to burn down the slave market. I want to change it into the market of freedom and liberty, the market that's going to turn around and bring people together. It's going to be able to kick me out of a job because now a poor mother won't need to hire me. A white mother, a black mother, a Spanish mother can go to the Department of Civilian Justice in North Carolina and say, the prosecutor's lying in my son's case. The cops are intimidating witnesses. The prosecutor's forcing deals on people illegally and hiding evidence. Who do you go to? Who do you go to in North Carolina when a prosecutor's corrupt? Nobody knows. I've asked that question to maybe 1,000 people at the Floyd funeral. I said, who do you go to when a judge is corrupt to report him? All I heard was crickets, okay? This is the problem. You have nobody. This new agency that I wrote for North Carolina, and a very powerful man, a champion of justice, a guy named Frank Serpico from the movie Serpico, who Al Pacino played, collaborated on the bill with me, okay? And so this is a collaboration of the two guys in New York State who won the Pursuit of Justice Award. Him being the first one to ever win it in New York, and me being the first Hispanic to ever win it. There's only been 2 people to ever win it. And we came together because what I realized when I was working on this, and I was working on it for North Carolina, I looked at your system and I said, oh my God, their police patrol guide procedures in North Carolina duplicate New York. And I said,
wow,
these guys didn't write it. They copied ours.
So Manuel, are you saying, so recently here in news, let's say, what was it, last week, we saw a investigation going on right now about a supposedly decorated officer who was a great guy, padded false reports on, I believe the report said on 12 cases of falsifying information in drug-related crimes. And so you're talking about, even though the prosecution's looking into it, and even though the things like Breonna Taylor's family is suffering, we're talking about these officers and we're talking about these prosecutors who don't necessarily have to be prosecuted or receive any jail time, because everybody's kind of in cahoots. Everybody's kind of working together. I've seen it in my own family where my children.
Kind of, they are.
Yeah.
They're not kind of working together, they are. I'll give you one small example in the whole state of North Carolina. Do you know that 99% of your officers do not read the Miranda rights to people? They don't tell them they have the right to remain silent. They don't have to tell them that anything they say will be used against them in the court of law. They don't tell them that if they can't afford an attorney, they appoint one. No, they take you in a room, they try to intimidate you, force you and say, Alicia said you did it, so we're gonna put you away for 20 years. You better say Toshiba did the murder. And if you don't, we're gonna give you 20 years.
Wow.
This is what they do. And it's happening there, it's happening. We have cops from the NYPD who go to North Carolina to train you guys over there. This is the problem. They come worldwide here. And this is the problem. This is why I said to you, we are the epicenter. This is why when I went with Dr. Terrence Ruth to the Floyd funeral and I saw this and I met with these thousands of people, I said to him, don't worry about it. We're going to bring you justice. Don't worry about it. And now Dr. Ruth has been pushing, and now with you, thank you, Toshiba, pushing to push this legislation through to make it a bill in North Carolina and to bring justice finally, because like I said, North Carolina has no transparency in their judicial system. This agency will be one agency operating out of the so-called slave market, which I want to call the whole of justice, operating out of there. And if it becomes a reality, what it will happen is that this agency will be able to have power of the entire state. So if you're in Raleigh, go to Fayetteville. If you're in Durham, you'll be able to go to Fayetteville. If you're at the end of the state, the beginning of the state, west, north, south, east, and west, you'll be able to go to this department and they will investigate those cops. And then here's one of the most powerful things that Serpico wanted me to put into it, which is this new agency will have subpoena powers. We'll be able to get the evidence. And if a police commissioner says, no, I'm not giving it to you, no, you have no access, they will have the power to suspend them immediately on the spot.
Wow.
And the prosecutors in your state, they facilitate this type of corruption because they know it's going on.
Mm-hmm.
They facilitate. Do you know right now in North Carolina that 95% of your people take a plea? 95%.
Yes, Justice Serve NC, Diana Powell has worked with youth for years, and she has been sharing with them and teaching them the laws to teach them, no, you're not going to take the plea. We're going to go to trial if we need to, because they don't want to go to trial. And it gives
they
them
scare you into it.
Mm-hmm.
They scare you into trial, but they scare you not to go to trial. Even the judges are scaring you not to go to trial. I'm going to tell you something that nobody's told you. That's a fact in North Carolina. So everybody listen to this one. In North Carolina, the prosecutor offices reward, let me say that again, reward and evaluate your prosecutors on how many convictions they get. This is why when somebody's innocent, they say, no, we're gonna give you ACD, which counts as a conviction for them, and you'll be on probation for 6 months, and then it'll go away. This is why in North Carolina, we're rewarding our prosecutors for convicting you rather than the performance. So if they have 100 people and 75 of them are innocent, the chief district attorney in each county tells their young assistant prosecutors, why didn't you offer him a plea deal? Why did you just dismiss the case? What is your malfunction? What is wrong with you? We are destroying the very fabric of families and children's futures by doing this to them.
Not to mention the wealth. You can't,
Yeah.
when families can't, and Alicia, we're going to bring you in this in a minute, because now this is affecting the lives of people. You're talking about people of poverty and what Crime and Punishment showed about the summons that you guys had to do and bringing in.
You have that too.
You're directly affecting Black lives. Now these families, parents can't get life insurance policies on their children because they have a crime associated with them, and they have to wait a certain amount of time to receive life insurance. But Alicia, let's talk about what this looks like emotionally for families during this current climate that we're in our country.
Right.
Not to mention when we're hearing things like Investigator Gomez sharing about how Black and brown communities are automatically targeted. Let's talk about the health impact on these families.
Well, it's interesting that he brought up Fayetteville, because my mind started to go back to when I was doing community-based work in Cumberland County. And when I was doing MST work, we actually went to court with the families. And I recall on several occasions, these are kids who are being involved, who are pulled into the juvenile justice system. And looking at the difference when I had a family that I was working with that was a Caucasian family versus, and me having to go before the judge and advocate, and the outcomes were starkly different when I was sitting in front of a judge who was making a judgment on the probation or status of an African American or a juvenile of color versus if I had a Caucasian. Starkly different. Now, I have to truly give shout out to Judge Addie Rawls down there in Harnett County. She was one who truly advocated for rehabilitating the family and would listen to the process and not just go on what the person coming in and laying the charges on those juvenile families. These families are torn apart.
Yes.
They're feeling that the justice is not on their side, and they're saying, so why bother? I often got that, and therapy with them was extremely difficult because I had to try to sell them some sense of hope in a system that they had already had two strikes against them. That there was no
Wow.
one in any of those buildings that were going to hear their story, that's going to do anything for them other than hand down a sentence of time and continue to tear those families apart. Being kicked off, I dealt with a family who lived on base, and the whole family getting kicked off of Fort Bragg off of
Wow.
something that was not worthy for that kid being kicked off of base. That was not worthy for that kid being put in an alternative school, which unfortunately, alternative does not mean education. It becomes a detention center. Unfortunately, the education is not primary. It's some place to house them, and you get onto this school to prison pipeline so fast
Well,
when their initial experiences are that bad.
well, what I want to say to you is that these families are suffering from a post-traumatic stress syndrome. They're all suffering from PTSD from their interactions with the law enforcement and interactions with the prosecutors. New York generates over $900 million a year, and this is what the film Crime and Punishment was showing, off summonses on Black and brown kids throughout the state. 900 million. Guess
Yes.
what North Carolina generates? Would you like to know?
I would like to know, what does North Carolina generate?
North Carolina generates over 700 million a year.
Wow.
700 million just on your summonses. And guess what system you copied it from? New York. This is why we did the film Crime and Punishment. This is why I brought those 12 cops together who are willing to stand with me, the NYPD 12, willing to stand with me, go up against, say, no, we're not going to do this. We're not going to mistreat people. We're not going to issue summonses for stuff because you're walking while being Black and throwing you up against the wall and searching you for no reason. This is why this movie, and I need everybody to see it, you'll see what's going on, because it's not just happening in New York, it's happening in your states. And this is why I need everybody to support Toshiba, support Alicia, support Dr. Ruth, support this bill that is going to bring justice, the Department of Civilian Justice bill, that Toshiba, and I thank God for bringing her into my life as well, to be able to be another sister from another mother to come over and join this fight.
Oh yeah, I'm in the fight. And you know what? Since this show is all about telling the truth. And Manuel,
Yes.
you have completely told the truth on levels that we didn't even realize. I didn't even realize the numbers. I was wondering what were the numbers around North Carolina's summons. And I know last year, our city of Raleigh, I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina. So our city of Raleigh did a community forum. And so they had gotten and received data about stops or not. People are not stopped based on race. People are stopped the same. However, what the police department never chose to dig into or expose, or I guess we as a community have to do to say, is what were the outcomes once the people were stopped? Even though you say that you're not stopped based off race, what are the outcomes once people are stopped? And now you can see face to face who is who, and what are people doing? I have friends who are my white friends, and I've told them from living in Southeast Raleigh at some point in time, in my younger years, I knew in that region, you never, or Black people know, you don't ride around with your tags not right. You don't give any reasons for stops. And if you do, you'll get a ticket as the law states, if your tags are expired or a temporary tag or whatever the case might be. But when I share this information with my white friends, they say, no one's giving you a ticket over a tag. I said, oh, yes, they do all the time. When people, share it, she said, that is ridiculous and that's unheard of. I said, well, no, Black people, no, you don't let things like that. You make sure that's always taken care of, because you're going to get the ticket or you're going to get stopped. And they says, well, the only thing that happens to us is that they tell us to take care of it and they send us on with a warning. So what's happening when people are stopped is totally different based on your race. And these are the numbers of things that we have to bring into pushing to show why pulling people over. We see the disproportionalities in some instances. We see the disproportionalities in the prisons of what's going on. And I understand, or I can identify, being truthful here, with the distress and the PTSD that's caused when police overstep, when they are too aggressive and are not being the community police officer that they need, doing their task and making sure that what they were intending to do is just being done versus doing more than what's necessary. And my children experience that. So the stress for me, or the PTSD for me, is when my phone rings and my kids are calling. For a while, I was a nervous wreck to hear my kids calling to tell me that police have pepper sprayed them and tased them for being where they were supposed to be.
You see, and I'm glad you brought that up. And I'm sorry about what happened to your children, but they're a perfect example of what's happening nationwide. And this is why people are flipping cars, burning buildings. They're doing this, why they're stopping traffic, going through the streets, and they're doing all this because they don't see any other way. Because the problem is a lot of them that are out there don't know how to exercise their rights. And one of the things I try to do is empower and teach. And I'm going to show you something that I carry that I want everybody out there who's watching to go spend. As a matter of fact, I'm going to ask Elisa, how much it costs to do your nails and toes?
About what, 40 bucks?
Your nails.
For me, it's 65.
It's 65. You go to the special place.
So $55, $60. I want everybody to go out there and buy one of these. It's a spy watch. You go out there, buy a spy watch, you go buy yourself a spy pen, keep it with you. So when that cop stops you, this is how I win. I turn around and say, officer, what was the probable cause of stopping you? Officer, what is the reason? What did I do? I have my seatbelt on. I'm driving slow. Now you record them. You don't tell anybody. You keep this on you and you record it. And then when you got to go to court, let that officer say all the lies he wants to say and then do what I do. Your Honor, is he done? Here's the video. Boom. And that's how you win. You gotta be nice. Kill them with kindness, record them, and we're gonna get them fired. But this is only one step. This is only one step. I need you people to back the legislation. You know, the greatest thing that we have, Mr. Sheba and Ms. Alicia, is our First Amendment right. And a lot of people don't know it. And what it is the First Amendment, and I'm gonna teach it to everybody in one word, RASPP. Freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, freedom of speech, freedom of press. But here's the most important thing everybody forgets. Freedom to petition the government to correct grievances. Now, what do I mean by that? That means that any pissed off American, black, white, yellow, green, doesn't matter what color you are, can write a bill, go to a congressman and make it a federal bill to change the laws. This is what I have done. And I got that example. You know where I got that from? And I'll tell you, when all this was happening to me and I started doing all these investigations and uncovering all this corruption and these poor Spanish mothers, poor white mothers and black mothers from all over, mothers from West Virginia who are treated just as bad as the black Hispanics, and they're white. And let me tell you something. They were calling me for help. And then I realized, wow, what do I do? What do I do? And one night I was sitting down at 3 o'clock in the morning, channel surfing, and I saw Martin Luther King give his I Have a Dream speech. Now, all of us have heard it, but none of us have really sat down and listened to every single word. I did that night. And I realized I got to do what he's doing. I got to take the fight to their house, take the fight to the White House, take the bill over there into the Senate, to the Congress. And that's how you do it. That's what he did. Martin Luther King was involved in Brown versus Board of Ed, bringing the integration of people into schools, integrating our schools. And he helped write that legislation. And I said, man, but where do I go to do that? Guess what I did? I went to the public library in New York, which we call it the Ghostbusters Library, with the big lions. And I walked up to the librarian. She looked at me like I was crazy. I said, how do I write a bill? She says, are you serious? And she goes, yes. She came out with about a stack, about 4 foot high of books and says, this is where you begin. And I got thrown out of the library about 20 times because I was always the last guy reading in there. The superior would say, you got to get a life. It's time to go. All right. But after 4 months, I wrote that bill. I wrote that proposal. Now, if I can do it, a poor Hispanic from the Bronx who grew up in the South Bronx, all of you can do it. Okay.
Wow.
And if you don't know how to do it, call me 347-867-6242. I will show you how to do it. Call me 347-867-6242. I will show you how to write a complaint against a prosecutor. I will show you how to defend yourself against a judge. I don't care where you are. I will go. And I want to know, it's not just me. It's my sister, Alicia. It's my sister, Toshiba. It's my brother, Dr. Terrence Ruth. We will help you because that's what we're trying to do, is make a difference. So if you're out there and you need help, please don't hesitate. Please take down that number, 347-867-6242. And if I don't pick up, call me like I owe you child support. And I will pick up, okay? Because I might be in another case, but I will pick up. Text me 911 that you have an person. Because
that is amazing. Yeah, that's amazing.
You were doing some great work, yes. And I really don't even want this conversation to end. We're getting a lot of great comments. I'm responding to them. I posted your number. I posted your website. I posted where everybody can go right now. Yes. And everyone needs to share the link of the overflow.network. And the Overflow is doing 2 things. We're doing 3 things. We have a 3-point agenda, and that is to gather Black citizens and their allies, because we can't do this work alone. Oh. And we are trying to influence our communities with in number, become unified in number. And we're also trying to change policies on our local and state levels. And the featured bill or the featured policy that the Overflow is focused on right now is the North Carolina Civilian Justice Bill. Listen, guys, we have to do something different than what we've been doing. Yes. Manuel brought up amazing points about what Dr. King did. He took it to legislator. He talked about policy, the great things that Reverend William Barber are doing with the Poor People's Campaigns. Get involved with something. Sign up for the NAACP. I'm a member. Sign up with the Overflow as a supporter. You don't necessarily have to do the donation, but go to the overflow.network and sign up as a supporter to support this bill, to support Black people coming together, learning how to create wealth. We've got some great things going on. Manuel, I know you would love to talk for us an hour. Do you want to come back next week?
Oh, well, I want to come back, and I respectfully request that, but I want to say something to everybody, and I want to leave you on this.
Okay.
Tonight, earlier, I asked my sister from another mother, Toshiba Rice, to be in Washington, D.C., to sit side by side with me and Frank Serpico, the NAACP, the American Civil Liberties Union, and speak in support of this federal Department of Civilian Justice bill, okay? But now I'm asking everybody out there, Ms. Toshiba Rice, Dr. Terrence Ruth, the NAACP, and other members and other organizations, we're trying now to get a state hearing in North Carolina for the Department of Civilian Justice bill proposal. And I want everybody in North Carolina to stand outside, back us in that hearing, come there, pack it, make that governor say, wait a minute, what are they doing? We're not saying no justice, no peace. We're saying we have a solution for justice, and we want the Department of Civilian Justice so that we can have peace. I don't want to hear no justice, no peace no more. We got peace. We got a thing that's going to give a solution. I want you to back Toshiba Rice. I want you to back Alicia Pinton. I want you to back the organizations that she's backing. I want you to back the NAACP. And by the way, this ugly guy is a member of the NAACP, which is me. So if I can do it, you can do it, okay? Please come to the hearing. And it would be an honor to come back and speak with you. Again, anyone out there, you need my number, Call me
Yes.
or
Well,
text.
I've got you down because we've got some folks coming behind you. I was hoping I know we talked about it doing this episode and next week because there's more to be told and there's some more groundwork to do. And we've got to lay the foundation. Maybe we can break down the bill next week.
Yes, we
even
will.
more so people can understand what they're getting into. So
What I like to do is post it while we're on the show.
It's
Post
posted.
the bill. No, but I mean, post the
Yes.
regulations and the rules.
Yes.
Let everybody see it so they know.
Can.
Because there's one thing that this agency will do that I wrote for North Carolina that doesn't have for no other state. It will have the ability, if we make this into law in North Carolina, it will notify every single mother and every single person via commercials, via the radio, via mail, about what this agency does, how to call it, and how to use it.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, nobody wants you to know how to defend yourself. Nobody wants you to know how to stick up for your rights. They don't tell you how to do that. They don't even teach that to you in school.
Nope.
But we're here, and we're going to do that. That I promise you.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I'm all in. I told you that. I have a stake in this thing. You are an answer to my prayer that I've been praying about connecting with someone who really understands how to make something happen. One of the things about me is that I'm solutions driven. There's no need to keep doing a bunch of talking if we're not going to come up with solutions.
Absolutely.
And what we have is a solution for a lot of the distress that's going on in families. I certainly experienced it. I'm still trying to get myself together from experiencing police brutalities within my family and trying to reach out to people and no one won't do anything. And I support these people. So it's politics season. It's politician season. It's election time. So everybody don't forget to register to vote. Register now, not on November 3rd, not doing early vote. Register right now before, what is that? October 13th, I believe it is. I think it's even before that. And I'm sorry I didn't have the date right, but register now. Go now. Go and go to the overflow.network. You'll see how to register through the state of North Carolina. You'll see how to look up your ballot. It's all right there laid out for you. You don't have to look for anything. You got to type in one simple thing, theoverflow.network. And it's all right there on the first page for you. Registration, do your census, and the civilian justice bill. All right there for you, first page. And I'm just overjoyed. Oh, it's been the best birthday ever.
Happy birthday.
Yes, happy birthday.
God bless you. I hope
Oh
you
my
get all the wishes
goodness.
come true.
This is amazing. I have to say this, Manuel, I watched Crime and Punishment before I met you.
Thank you.
And my thought was, I would love to meet this man because he is doing some things. He knew how to handle some, and I saw the ending. And who would have thought that God heard my prayer in my mind?
Well, you know what? You were so astute and about watching that film, and you said back in the beginning that you saw me shaking my head in court. Well, when you watch the movie at that one scene, you're going to see them saying, well, we did an investigation. The kid's name was Pedro Hernandez. They called him a different name. They didn't even call him his right name, which shows you they didn't even do an investigation. And the reason why I freed Pedro Hernandez was because I went to the prosecutor's office. I presented all the evidence. I showed how this cop arrested him 9 times. I won 8 of the 9 cases. Now this was the 9th case. And I said, he's innocent again. And they kept saying, well, and this is the sad thing. This is the part I don't want to say, but I got to say. It was a black cop telling black mothers and Spanish mothers, if you spread your legs to me, I won't arrest your children. Now I have it on video from the mothers of him pulling his penis out, telling him to take care of this. He did this to that kid, Pedro's mother. And in there, I couldn't get justice. So you know how I got justice? I went to a black journalist named Sean King. And he's one of the most famous journalists out there now. And I went to him and I showed him all my evidence. And I said, Mr. King, could you please take all of this and dump it on the internet, I destroyed their case. I dumped all the evidence proving him innocent. I declared him innocent because I couldn't get the judge to do it. Once they saw I did all that, they had no other choice but to say dismissed. And,
We need you.
or there's something else I want to say, and this is the last thing. You know, you said something very important about voting. Everybody, Toshiba's right, but there's something you got to know. When you walk into a congressman or a representative or a state senator's office or the senator's office, they're going to run your name. They're going to say, okay, Manuel Gomez, is he a registered voter? And if you don't come as a registered voter, they don't care what you got to say.
Wow.
You don't merit, okay? When you're a registered voter, they know that, oh my God, I need this vote. I need this vote to stay in office.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to try to help you. This is why you have to register to vote, because they're going to check to see if you are registered. And if you're not registered, then you don't matter. You do matter. You have to exercise the three greatest rights that we have in America: the right to vote, the right to do jury duty, and then the right to write a bill to correct injustices. And these are the things that we taken for granted. Most people, they say, well, my vote don't count, and they're not voting. But then they say, no justice, no peace. I don't understand that. Then when people get jury duty, oh, I'm not doing that, I gotta work. But then you know what? What about when it's your kid who needs somebody up there to hold justice for them?
Empathy.
That's the problem. And this is why we have to roll up our sleeves, knuckle up, and get in there, this fight. We are all in a street fight. We are in a street fight for our future, for our lives, and we are fighting these moral monsters, which we call prosecutors. We are fighting these moral monsters, which are the police, and the biggest moral monsters are the judges that are looking the other way. And the sad thing is, it's not just a black and white thing. We had those cops up in Albany. They showed all these white cops knocked this 70-year-old white man down who was protesting against George Floyd being shot. They cracked his head on the floor, excuse me, and they walked over his body.
Yep.
And then when one cop turned around to try to help him, the other 4 cops grabbed that white cop and said, move forward. That's what I was telling you before. You got to go, to get along, you have to go along. You have to follow the procedure, because if you open your mouth, you break the blue wall of silence, you're done. They'll get you killed. They'll tell you.
You're right, Manuel, because even with my son's case, the judge clearly knew this was foolishness. And instead of him completely just saying, it's dismissed, no, we're not doing that, he did side with my son's attorney when he said, Your Honor, in light of, the fact that he was supposed to be there, this should have never happened. He shouldn't have to pay restitution. He shouldn't have to pay my attorney fees. And the judge says, you're absolutely right. He's not going to pay any of it. But what should have happened was it should have been dismissed and immediately taken off of his record.
See, but Toshiba, you just hit the point. You just said he shouldn't have to pay restitution. He shouldn't have to pay the state's fees. Those monies that he's paying to the court are those 700 million that's being generated. This is what's paying for the system. So we're going after them, and then we're dismissing the case, but we're making them pay no matter what. This is the problem. Those court fees are in the hundreds of millions, and it's happening in North Carolina, and you copied it from New York.
Well, we're going to stop it, and we're going to work together to do it, and we're going to promote the civilian justice bill. Everyone that hears me share this video. I'm going to leave it up. I'm not even going to do any editing to it. I'm going to leave it just like it is in its raw form, because we've got to get the word out. We need everybody that is about justice. No more talking. I'm not backing candidates anymore who's going to do a bunch of talking. I've done it long enough. I love my party, but I'm not doing it anymore. Get in office and make some changes that really affect people, and stop playing these games, because our lives are at stake and our families are hurting, and we're tired of crying. And I love to pray, but I don't want to keep asking God to fix people that are oppressing and abusing people because of what I look like. And so I'm just urging everyone, please tonight, share this video, contact me, contact Manuel, contact Alicia Phoenix Partners if you need some therapeutic services, because it's stressful. It's overwhelming. It's causing manifestations of symptoms and signs of illnesses, mental illnesses, and support and depression. Doesn't mean that you have it. It's just that your situation is causing this. Doesn't mean you got to stay on pills, but you might need something to help you for a moment. And so we want to take care of the total person here with Talking with T. Rice, telling the truth, making sure you set those priorities for your life, go from not being well to becoming well. And we need everybody here to say, I am well. And we have to be well in our homes, in our families, with these businesses, with our spirituality. We have got to be well. Manuel, thank you. Next Tuesday, right?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And
all right.
We're going to show the bill. We're going to break it down.
And I want you to post it up now for them too. Let people know. I want everybody to know one thing, like she said, and I'll leave you on this. I want to say, may God bless all of you. May you all stay safe. You're all in my prayers. But if you need me, there's a brother in the dark that works at night, and that's me. Call me. I want you to know one thing, okay? I want you to say you're not going to take it anymore. I want you to say today it stops for you. Today, you're going to roll up your sleeves, you're going to register to vote, and you're going to get involved. And when Toshiba Rice posts up on her Facebook account that we're going to the Senate in North Carolina, I want to see you all there. And if you don't have the money, let me know, and I'll swing by my Hummer and I'll pick you up, okay? I don't want you to not come. I want you to be involved. Amen, and God bless all of you.
There is this.
Awesome.
Manuel wanted it up. I pulled it up. I think everyone can see it. And if you see it right here, you are to go. I pulled it up on the Overflow's website, and all you have to do is go right here. And and there it is. So you just simply click on it, read the bill.
Thank you so much for
the
this.
bill. Absolutely.
God bless you. And you see there, it says it right there. There's the infrastructure. Everything you need is right there. That's what everybody wants. All right. And I'm telling you, watch the movie Serpico. You'll see that's what Frank Serpico wanted. Watch the movie Crime and Punishment, and you'll see that's what I did. Because when I went to Frank Serpico, I told him, I said, sir, I need you to have a choice. And he goes, what? I said to him, you're either going to be with me or you're going to be with me. And he laughed when I said that. I said, because he talked about this in 1970. It's 2020, 30 years later, and we're still suffering the same stuff. 30 years later, and we still have slavery of women being sold by sex traffickers in all states. 30 years later, and we're hanging and lynching people and executing people, shooting them in the back. That's an execution. I'm sorry. This is what we got going on. We need to stop it. Join us.
Absolutely.
Well, we're ending it on that note and leaving the bill up for folks. Go to the overflow.network to be able to see the North Carolina Civilian Justice Bill. Make sure you look in the comments, and you can find Black Ops Private Investigators in the website. And you can also be able to see Alicia Peaton as well in there. So thank you so much, guys. My team, I love you so much. We're going to do this again real soon. And I thank everybody so much for your diligence. And that's going to be it for us, okay?
All right.
Have a good night.
Have a blessed evening.
Bye-bye.
All right, don't leave us.